We are Brightside Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds. Welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The Home Theater Podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
And I've already screwed up in 2024. What'd I screw up, boys? Nope. Besides my audio not being on when we come back, what did I screw up?
I don't know.
No,
the award-winning Home Theater Podcast.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Golden Globes, they say they give them to just anybody, but I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Taylor Swift had exactly the same look on her face when Brightside Home Theater won. That she did when Jim Coy was making his remarks.
Yeah. She wasn't pleased.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's funny.
I mean, she would have been better off getting on stage and just slapping him. I think that might have actually been just probably less of a reaction.
Keep my name out your M&F mouth.
Yeah. So before we get into all of that, how was everybody's vacation?
It's awesome.
Yeah, very good.
Really
Thank you. Very good. Yes.
Did you enjoy the time off?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, it depends on how do you define time off. I didn't get a lot of time off from my day
job.
From the
podcast.
Right, okay. Well, you know, it did feel weird watching a film and then not thinking, "Ooh, better
I have to write this down
for the show." Yeah, keep that in mind for the next show. That felt weird.
It was. I didn't watch a ton in my theater. I watched a few things, holiday stuff that we do traditionally every year. We'll get into that probably more next week and stuff. But you're right. It was like 100%. Like you just sat down and were like, I'm just watching this. But I caught myself going, oh, that was really cool. I don't have to do that. I can just enjoy it for me. I don't have to remember to tell everybody.
I had to go back to the old days of reviewing them on Twitter. I mean, it's just so weird.
Sorry. Oh, like you ever stopped.
Well, yeah. But, having to save the good stuff for the show. Better stuff. But no, it was good. No, it was fun. It was fun. And I had a little bit of time in London and encountered one of the friends of the show, which was very cool. And had a very pleasant surprise at the weekend when one of my Twitter followers said, "You're in Home Cinema Choice again."
Yeah.
How'd that work out? What happened? They just ran it again?
Review of the year. Yeah, they did like a review of the year and they picked 4 of the home theaters to feature again. And one of them was mine, which was very, no one told me until the Twitter follower mentioned it.
Right.
So, it was cool. Yeah. Very
Congratulations. That's awesome.
So, I'm not going to have that one framed, though, because once is enough.
Right.
Is it, though?
Don't want to make anybody to come hang another photo.
Yeah, oh man. Bear in mind the cost of the last one. I think, once is enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same pictures too, right? So.
Yeah, well, exactly. Perhaps I should have double-sided. You could just turn the frame around.
Yeah. Here's the first time. You could even pretend you just turned it around. And here's the second time.
Right.
Like, was it Roger Moore in the Cannonball Run when he pressed the number and the license plate spun round? Just have that with the...
Yeah. It's, guys, I got to tell you, I'm nervous. I got butterflies. I'm nervous. I'm like, am I doing everything right? I was like, you take a couple of weeks off. I've been at this for so long. And it's like, oh my God, are we doing it right? It's like,
did we ever? I mean,
do we ever? Yeah, I got it right before.
I was going to say.
All right. Am I as inaccurate, or am I accurate to our inaccuracies?
Right.
Are you up to our
messing it up
standards?
would actually be doing things correctly.
Right.
And then
am I accurately depicting our inadequacies?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's really the message I'm trying to get across here, right? So, but yeah, let's touch on that award. Because I know you guys aren't from around here, obviously. John grew up here, but that I got to tell you, that shocked the heck out of me.
Yeah.
And we'll keep it clean here, as Steve found out. Not all podcasts do, but the guys, Ryan and Rich, or Keith and Davey, they go by their last names, over at #Dork Podcast. Every year they do their best of the year, and they get all dressed up. I don't know if you guys caught them on YouTube. And they get all dressed up in suits, and they do the best of the year, and they do everything. They do comic books. They do all the dorks, the full dork gamut, right? Gamut, whatever. And every year they do, the best podcast of the year. And I was saying to Steve earlier off air, I was like, a couple of years ago when I had done Rich's theater, he reached out to me, and I was like, and he's been on the show obviously a few times, but he's a radio personality around here. So when he reaches out to me, I'm like, oh my God, Rich Keefe is talking to me. I'm like, all right. So I did his theater, and I was thinking the year I did his theater, I had my fingers crossed. I'm like, maybe I'll get a nomination in the Dorkies, right? And no, I didn't, but it was all their Dork Gooniverse or whatever, and I didn't mind. I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. Never really thought about it since then or anything like that. And then that the day we were supposed to be on last Tuesday, and as I told you guys, didn't work out. And I'm really disappointed. I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I didn't know this, but they had recorded the night before us that we should have recorded, and I didn't get to see it. I didn't get to hear it. And on Wednesday morning, my son listened to it on his way to work, and he just texted me and he goes, Dad, you're going to want to listen to Dork today. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, well, he's not telling me why, so I'm figuring I got nominated. And and which I thought was cool. I was like, all right, that's cool. They were on the show. We did the 24-hour, whatever. And I'm driving to work, and I'm listening to the show, and they get to that part of the show. I go, oh, here we go. I'm like, okay. And our show was the first one. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We're right out in front, like, oh, the Brightside Home Theater. And they've talked about us on their show before, but I was like, all right, that's cool. And every year, they do this every year, and they list a bunch from their own shared Gooniverse. They call it the Dork Shared Gooniverse, and Mac and Goo are in there, and that's why it's called the Gooniverse. And every year they list a bunch of podcasts, and then they go, and we win it, because they think, of course, they give it to themselves. It's all a fun joke. And when when Davey started saying, he goes, I'm going to go out this year. And he's like, and I was like, when he started speaking, I'm like driving, I almost went off the road. I was like, oh my God. I was like, it was huge for me, because I'm like, I've been listening to them long before I had a podcast. And they were kind of my inspiration for John and I to even start up, because they were like good buddies in high school. And then they get to sit down every week. So John and I'm like, why can't we do that? Obviously, Rich being a radio professional, it was a little daunting, because you're like, you can't do that. But then just organically to have this happen and then mention us, I was like, that to me was huge. I was like, oh my God. I texted my son when I got to work. I go, I am literally shocked. He's like, why? I go, because it's not even a home theater podcast, right? But they're just, putting out some recognition. So I texted them both, said, thank you. They're awesome. But that's a huge thing for me. For me, I think it's huge for us. It's like, I thought it was great. And if you're not already listening to them, I've talked about them for years over here. So if you're not already listening to them, go listen to them, because they're awesome. But
just don't do it in front of delicate, sensitive ears.
Yes, Steve, why don't you tell your story?
Yeah, well, yes, I having Deej sent us a text saying, "Oh, you're going to want to listen to Dork," and so I put it on, and foolishly did so without headphones. I just turned it on with the sound up, because I just figured that, it's all the podcasts are the same, and within short order, I discovered that's not the case, and I wasn't alone at the time, so it was so there was a scramble for the volume button. But
sorry.
But there we go. Oh, hey, you're all right. And then I got the headphones, and then it was all good. But yeah, no, it's very cool. And as I say, we can now call ourselves officially an award-winning podcast.
Absolutely,
so that's ultra cool. Deej, we should quickly say hi to everyone that's in the chat.
Absolutely, yes, please do.
Scruffy's been in since sort of midday. Actually,
Yes.
he said way too early. Steve Att, of course, is in the chat, as we like to say.
Yep.
So hi, Steve. Paul's in, saying afternoon, evening. Jordan's in, so hi, guys. And Jack Lee's been and gone. You know, God, no staying power, Jack. I'm appalled.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm not saying I'm talking to your other half, Jack. I'm just talking about the podcast. And then hi to Mikey Schramm, of course, is in the chat as well. So hi, guys. And there must be some others because of the numbers we can see. So if you're in the chat and you want to just say hi, just drop us a hello. And you can do that not just via YouTube now. You can also do that via Twitter or X. Sorry, Elon.
Yeah.
X. And please don't terminate my account. Just say hello, and we always say hi. And Joe, I see Joe Herzl's in. Hi, Joe. So just drop us a comment now, either Twitter or Instagram. Deej, we think possibly now as well.
Not this. See, I was gonna stream it on Instagram. I told the guys, and I was gonna make an announcement. And then when I tried to link it, it asked me to do all this stuff. And like when you go to start the show, you actually have to go to Instagram. So like I go live, it's just another step I have to do. And then on top of that, Instagram will only stream it for 60 minutes. And I'm like, what the hell? So they're not going to be in the 24-hour podcast this year. That's for sure.
But to be honest, guys, I'm a little bit worried that we'll feel pressure to become Instagram models. You know, we'll all be in bikinis. It'll be really awkward. You know, I'm
you're not already?
Myself, not you guys. I'm sure you're both, a fine specimen of men.
I have great bikini form.
Yeah. Bottoms down right now. We're rocking it. It's like, come on, Steve, get with the program.
I can only apologize. I've let the side down, and for that, I am very sorry.
Yeah, that's funny. So,
see what Paul's put in the chat. So I accidentally played it with some Rage Against the Machine at a very posh Christmas party this year. Had to crossfade to something less X-rated. Oh man,
nice.
I didn't realize Paul
That's a
DJ'd
Christmas
in his
party.
spare time.
Yeah,
fair play. All right, there we
Yeah.
go. What's your
There you
DJ
go.
name, Paul? We want to know.
Yeah, my DJ name's DJ.
Yeah, DJ.
DJ.
It's got to be.
Gotta be. So,
Joe's coming in with requests.
Joe,
Nice.
what's he got? Mankinis. There you go.
No.
Let's see, what do we got? We have one donation come in over the holidays. We had a box of popcorn from John Rudd, $25 box of popcorn. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate that. John has been going through some calibration stuff, fun stuff, not bad stuff, and we've been talking it out and having a good time with it. So.
Nice.
But yeah, so he kicked us a nice $25 box of popcorn. Really appreciate that. So, yeah. So, guys, this is it. We've got, this is our top 10. We have no images this week. So if you're listening to the audio only, don't feel bad because I didn't go and put together all the images and all of that. I literally took the 2 weeks off. So I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. And these are all titles we've talked about. So, people know what the pictures are. And I suppose if you're that keen on it, you can go back onto YouTube and find where we talked about it. And if you want to see the pictures, you can look at it then.
Yeah,
Cross-promotion.
Exactly. But yeah,
for that matter, you can hear what we said about it too. So good night, everyone.
Done. There we go. What he said.
Go to the show notes. I'll post a list. Thank you. Good night. 14-minute show.
Done.
Done and done. Oh no. So
3 weeks off. Sweet.
We literally got right to this after our last show. I think it was the next day, right? We had pretty much did.
Well, you two did.
I was just gonna say. I was like, poor John was like, oh my God.
I was like, I gotta get to work. I thought I was on vacation.
So I got it all together. Basically used the same exact formula I had last year. I just cut and paste and did a new one. let me show last year's top 10. We had at number 10, these are all last year's. Last year's top 10, number 10, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Number 9, Thor Love and Thunder. Number 8, Pulp Fiction. Number 7, Jurassic World Dominion. Number 6, Dune. Number 5, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 4, Ambulance. Number 3, The Northman. Number 2, The Batman. And number 1, Top Gun Maverick last year. So that was last year's. And I used the exact same formula that we had last year and came up with a really good list. I really, really like this list this year. Just like I liked last year's, and it's pretty cool how the formula works. And just to let everybody know, what it is last year it was, I can't remember how many we said, but we got a little bit more this year. I think we all submitted 15. Right. So that gave us a few, and I'll go over those really
last
quick.
Year we did 10 and then a couple of honorable mentions, like 1 or 2.
Yeah,
I seem to remember that too. Yeah. Just whilst you're talking about that, again, I just want to quickly say hi. We've got a couple of, I think, newbies.
Okay.
Keith,
cool.
Keith, I'm not going to try that surname, Keith. I'm going to say it wrong. I'll feel a fool. So hi, Keith K.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah. And and then Xenopoulos. Yeah.
Xenopoulos, maybe?
Xenopoulos.
Yeah.
And Jan, we've got Jan Hextra in as well.
Jan, yeah.
Jan or Jan.
Yep.
Jan. So, hi, guys.
Yep. Awesome.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Sorry, Deej.
Nice job, Steve.
Interrupted your flow.
Oh, no. Flow?
Hustle and flow. That's
Even John 4 was like, DJ doesn't have flow. There's no flow. DJ's like a full power spigot. Shut it off. Keep it going.
It's either on or off.
Yeah, exactly. There's no flow. So this year we had a few more, but what I do is if it's not in the top 10, okay, so we all submitted 15. I think it just it accidentally happened that way because my first list I sent you guys was basically my unaltered list. And it was like, okay, so then you guys sent, 15, or I think mine had 16 and then Steve sent 15. So, but anyways, if it's outside of your top 10, I give it a score of 11. Okay. So let's say, for instance, last year, we had Dune, for instance, came in 6th because John had it at number 2. I had it at number 4. Steve, it didn't make Steve's list. Okay. So Steve, I put it in at 11.
That's why I kept thinking, why was that so low? Because Dune should have been up there pretty high.
I'd only seen it once. I still have only seen it once.
Right. So if it's not on your list, it gets a score of 11. Okay. That way it keeps it fair for everything that is like that. Right. So this year, we have a bunch here that I'll go through these. These are all not honorable, I guess you'd call them honorable mentions because one of us scored it on every single one of these. I'll give you the scores. Somebody had it in their top 10, but it didn't even make the top 10 because the other two just flat out didn't. Because there's a lot of movies. So that's why this list is pretty good. So let's see. All right, that's John over there. So Sleepy Hollow comes in with a score of 32. John had it at 10. Obviously, Steve and I didn't have it. Coming in at also a score of 32. The Exorcist. Steve had it at 10. Neither John or I had it. Ahsoka, 32 as well. I had it at 10. And then John and Steve did not. Now we get into the number 9s. Nightmare Before Christmas. John had it at number 9. We didn't have it. The Mist, a late bloomer for Steve. He marked it at number 9. John and I haven't seen it. Let's see. And that's Guardians of the Galaxy. I had it at number 9. John and Steve didn't have it on their top 10. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. John had it at 8. Steve didn't make Steve and I's list. Fall of the House of Usher. I had it at number 8. John and Steve did not have it on the list. Black Adam. John had it at 7. Neither Steve or I had it on the list, on the top 10 anyways. Now, we could have had some of these might have been right outside of it, because we did, I know, like I've had a couple of these, because I know Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Steve had it at 7. It says here I had it at 11, but I know that was on my list, and as you slide things around, things get punched down and stuff.
And not to interrupt, but I said to you guys, my habit of not rushing out to buy new releases kind of kept a lot of things off my list, because I haven't bought Oppenheimer or Barbie or.
Oh, we'll get to this. We'll get to that. It's all part of the scoring.
But I'm just saying, like, I haven't even bought those movies yet. So things that would have made my top 10 just weren't there. And so that's why my list is a little bit hokey compared to yours and Steve's, which we're a little bit more in sync, though. You know what I'm saying? And
but what I like
probably wouldn't have. Well, but I'm just saying, mine probably would not have incled like Black Adam if I had bought all these other movies.
Correct.
And watched them. And that's all I'm trying to say. It's not like not that it was a bad list, because they are movies I watched and they made my top 10, but they seem outliers because I haven't bought all the hot big movies, you know.
Right. Because that's what I like.
Until they're $10 and then I'll buy them.
Yeah.
So,
but see, that's what I like about our show. And our listeners have commented on that too. We all have different theaters. We all have different tastes. And we all have different ways of doing things. And there's just as many listeners that do it your way, John. So the scores will reflect that.
Right. Like I said, I'm not trying to minimize my list at all. I'm just kind of saying that if somebody says, well, that's weird, John didn't have Oppenheimer on his list. That's because I haven't bought it yet. So,
yeah. Right. And as a home theater experience, it didn't make it.
Right. Now, I did see it in the theaters, but that wasn't part of our criteria. So
right. And that's on Oppenheimer. If they want to make our list, they want to make John's list, they should have released it earlier and then dropped it on sale. There you go.
Just super quick, guys. Let us mark a first. Gents, a first. We have our first Twitter comment on thing. Look at the little X logo you get with it. Hi, Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Kelly on Twitter. How are you doing today?
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly.
There you go. Just thought I'd mark that occasion because you get the cool little X with it. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I interrupted your flow, Deej.
You keep saying flow, we're going to lose John. He's going to run off to the bathroom.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
keep thinking of the Progressive commercials every time I hear flow.
So the last, we got 2 more outside of the top 10 with these last 3. Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. Steve had it at 7. The Fugitive, Steve had, I had at 7. And then The Creator at score of 28. The previous 2 are at score of 29. The Creator is at 28. I had it at number 6. I don't even think you guys saw it yet, right?
No, I haven't seen it.
Neither of you had seen it.
I have seen it in the interim 2 weeks that we've been off. So I have seen it. It's not on disc. It's out on disc here on Monday, and I cannot wait to pick up the disc. So I saw a screener of it. Boy, was it good. Yeah. I'll perhaps talk about that in more detail next week. But that's why I didn't make my list. But just because we haven't spoken about it before, and as you say, it was a last-minute entry, The Mist. Can I just say it is a fantastic 4K remaster. It's from Lionsgate, and they've given very cool of them. You get both the black and white version and the color version in 4K in the same set. So they haven't made you go and buy it twice, which some might have done. And the video is really good, but the audio, it's in Atmos as well, which was news to me. They've remastered it in Atmos, and there is some LFE in this that will rock your world. There is an unexplained earthquake in sort of first third of the movie where genuinely it felt as though my house was rocking and moving right up through the floor, right up through the sofa. It's awesome. It only lasts for a couple of minutes, but boy, oh boy, is it good. So because we won't get a chance to talk about it because it'll have gone by next week.
Right.
So I do recommend that, guys. It's well worth picking up. That's great.
Cool. Nice. All right. Well, that brings us to our top 10. Here we go, guys. This is it. It's our top 10 for the year. Any guesses? That I have the list.
This is
new to you guys too, and I like that. Yeah,
we're all finding out together. So
so it's not Evil Dead Rise from 1 to 9, Deej. Is that what you're saying? Just so I know.
Nope. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. And this, So just like last year, it's like how it. I hit sort. Total and it boom, here we go, because we have some ties, but this is how it sorted it. So number 10, Super Mario Brothers.
Oh
yeah. So John had it at number 6. Steve and I, it didn't make our list, but that puts it right for that John's at number 6. It beat the creator just because that's the way it's actually tied with the creator.
The algorithm works. Huh?
The way the algorithm works, it gave John more credit than me. I don't know how to do that. I honestly, I don't. I kept doing it to see if anything would change because I wanted to be fair, and it just doesn't. I did the same thing last year.
So.
No. Yeah, exactly.
The creator
no.
would come before that, so I don't know how they weighed that.
Yeah, no idea.
The algorithm is a video gamer, clearly.
Right.
So, John, would you like to say a few words on why you had it at number 6? And then that's how we're going to go through here. And then when we get to the ones where we all have it ranked.
Them again? Jeez.
Just briefly. You put it at your number 6, so you don't have to say what was around it because what it beat out. But as we get down there, we'll say that stuff. But.
Yeah, I just thought, it being animated, it was the visuals on it were great. It was super colorful, super crisp. The Atmos I thought was very solid on it, and it was just a great experience overall. I liked it. I thought it was good. So
John, I would agree with that. I thought it was great. It might not have made my top 10, but it would, for me, it's an honorable mention. If Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse hadn't come along in terms of animated movies,
would have been number
then
1.
Mario would have been my animated film of the year.
Right.
I think it's great. It's great fun. If you're a Nintendo fan, it's cool. If you're just a casual kind of gamer, it's great fun. And if you just want a fun movie, it's really good. And you can sit down with the kids. There's nothing too much in there that's going to upset anybody. You can kind of just chuck it on and watch it. And it does look so colorful as well. It's fantastic.
And honestly, I only gave this a chance because of you, Steve, because you talked so highly about it when it came out. I was like, well, eventually, when it's $10, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to watch it.
So it is very cool. And the highlight for me, I think, is the Donkey Kong Mario fight in the arena. It's really, really cool and lots of swooshing and Atmos effect, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, it's 25, isn't it? So fills the screen.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good video.
Yeah. Oh, I really enjoyed it as well this year. I don't think that even made any of my list. It wasn't even just out. It wasn't on my list this year.
I think I was the only one that had it.
Now I feel bad because it was good.
Because some of these I had just outside of the top 10. I know, like
I was a little surprised with yours, Steve. Honestly, because I thought you had much higher.
Again, I should have done. And had I thought longer about it, I would have done. Had I had 16, not just 15, it would have been there. Honest, I swear, it would have been there.
There you go. So there you go. So at number 10, Super Mario Brothers.
Yay!
All right, number 9. Any guesses, guys? Any guesses?
No, don't know.
No, I can't even remember the list.
Only one of us had it. Only one of us had it.
Okay.
And one of us had it at number 6, so it is also tied with Super Mario Brothers. But it comes in at number 9. Steve's number 6, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh yeah.
Did neither of you have it on your list? I thought you did.
Again, I just haven't.
I did, but it was just outside the top 10.
Okay. All righty. Well, I'll take this one then. So I mean, I only reviewed it. I think actually the last show of the year. So it's great. I mean, it's a really, really good disc. The movie's good fun. We won't mention its box office. because that took about 45 minutes, I think, of our last show. So we won't go there. But it was, really, really good movie, good fun. And it's a fantastic disc. Audio and video, it's a Paramount movie, so you're going to get top-notch audio video, although Mr. Cruz may not be bothering with Paramount for much longer, of course. He's just signed a deal today with Warner Brothers. Yeah, he signed a deal with Warner. I'm surprised Paramount let that go. Yeah, I'm very surprised.
I would imagine Dead Reckoning 2 would be outside of that deal.
Yeah, it's
that's
already. Well, I imagine Mission Impossible
pretty much done, isn't it?
Outside of it, won't it? They're not Paramount not going to give that up. I wouldn't have thought.
No.
I mean, who knows? But I'd be surprised. But yeah, so it was. So it's really, really good. And again, my highlight for this, if we're gonna, because we're obviously movies that we already liked, hence why it's in our top 10. Right. For me, the as I said when I reviewed it, the Rome car chase is the highlight for me. In a movie with lots of highlights, but the Rome car chase is just awesome. And if someone comes round and you're like, I'm going to show my system off, that would be a good a good scene to go to and just let it play. It's great. And one for you, John, obviously, because it's in Italy, it's in Rome, Italy, you're going to love it. So it's all good.
Already John, predisposed to liking it.
Yeah, you don't have it yet, right?
I've seen it. I saw it in the theaters, but I haven't picked up the disc yet. So I imagine again, it would have been somewhere in my top 10 if I had seen it, because I remember that in the train sequence kind of towards the end, I imagine was also very good.
It is. It's just that car chase was so cool and goes on for so long that it was good. But yeah, the whole disc is great. Just that bit in particular, I really liked. And Randy, again, I think might be someone new.
Randy might be new as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So hi, Randy. Says he's waiting for Dead Reckoning on free streaming. I mean, obviously, Randy, depending on what you think of the other ones, if you like the other ones, I wouldn't wait. I'd pick this up because the disc is so good, and the streaming will not match it. So if you really like it, get the disc.
Unless Randy only streams.
Right. Yeah,
if he's only streaming, like a lot of people just stream and they don't have discs. So if that's the case, then absolutely.
I imagine Paramount would have it relatively soon. I'm
a bit surprised it's not on Paramount Plus.
I'm surprised it's not already, but with the disc coming out a month ago, I can't imagine it'll be too long before it's on streaming.
Yeah. Randy was on a couple times last year, he says.
Sorry, Randy. I apologize. So, there we go. But welcome
back.
We're
just all excited getting new people, so we'll try. Randy, jump out, change your name, come back. We'll get excited again.
We'll welcome you again. Yeah, just don't change your name to Very Randy, otherwise we'll get the wrong idea and think. But anyway,
I had
to come back.
I have Mission Impossible. It was literally it got pushed to 11 on mine. Yeah. So, and then obviously, like I said earlier, I had Ahsoka just ahead of it in my number 10. So, but yeah, it was a fun movie. It's a fun home theater experience for sure. Everything you said, Steve. So definitely happy that made our top 10. So, all right. Up next, number 8. Number 8. This is now 2 of us did not have this, didn't make our list, our top 10. And one of us had this at number 4. So that pushed it to a score of 26. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Oh. And John had it at number 4.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what's to say about this? This is a 4K.
Better than The Godfather.
Yeah. But yeah, I say this is a movie that was made for 4K disc, right? With Atmos. It just was a blast, I mean, from top to bottom, it looked great, sounded great, tons of action. It's a Transformers movie, so it's you know what you get. You know what you're signing up for when you go into it. But it's spectacle. It's a gorgeous disc. I really, really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah. And
Paul's disagreeing with you, Deej.
It's not what?
I think as good, better than The Godfather.
Well, that's an inside joke. Yeah.
Home theater experience. Absolutely.
It's a much better home theater movie than The Godfather.
Oh my God. Way, way better. So yeah, I'll argue that all day. I don't even think that's an argument, to be fair.
No.
If you're trying to tell me The Godfather is a better home theater experience.
You're going to get us cancelled.
We are.
Okay. That means we will have made it. Now, see, we finally made it. We win a dorky, we get canceled.
Yep.
But that's what I love about your list, John. Neither Steve or I had it anywhere on our list.
Right.
But you bring that in and you're 100% right. I mean, this is an absolute, and that's what this show is about. It's about it doesn't have to be Academy Award winning like The Godfather.
I mean, we all like good movies. Obviously,
oh, yeah.
The Godfather. Well, two of us like The Godfather, but
who didn't?
Steve, I didn't think was
I like the first
fan.
one.
Oh.
It's the first one. I like.
Not
the
second one.
I was
Okay.
struggling with a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, we like good movies, but I mean, this is a home theater show, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I love about this list. This is the top 10 home theater experiences of the year. And Transformers coming at Rise of the Beasts, coming in at number 8, I think is fantastic. And I mean, John, you had it at number 4. So it's like it pushed it right up there, and that's perfect. And to be fair, it is one of the better Transformer movies too. It's like we all thought it was better than we thought it would be. You know, you were like, I know it's going to be a fun home theater movie, but the movie itself, you're like,
actually,
wait a minute, that was actually pretty good.
Did like it. Yeah, I really liked it. Because I had fallen off of the franchise towards the end of the Michael Bay movies. But Bumblebee and this one kind of drew me back in. So, it was excellent. So,
this is one I had forgotten about, to be fair. Like, it is a good home theater experience, but then when I saw John's list, I was like, how did I not have that on there? You know, because it was a great home theater experience. It should have been there. So, but yeah, what were you going to say, Steve? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Well, because it's not a Michael Bay film, and with Transformers anyway, the beauty of it is you can see what's going on. You can see what the robots are fighting and how it's all developing because the camera goes back. The editing is a lot more sensible. I mean, don't get me wrong, Michael Bay films are great, but with these movies, the editing is such that it used to become quite difficult to know what they were doing. Whereas this one and Bumblebee as well, in fairness, are shot in a much more easy to watch way, which makes it just as fun. You know, it's great. Yeah, 2 thumbs up, Keith. 2 thumbs up. Or 6 thumbs up. It's all a bit weird.
Yeah. Keith, I thought this was Siskel and Ebert. Well, it kind of is for home theater experiences.
So, it's great. It is, like you say, Deej, you're right, John. It was a worthy inclusion. And I missed it as well. That would have been my 16. If I'd had 16, that would have been my 16.
Yeah. So there you go, John. Nice work. Right. Transformers, Rise of the Beast, number 8.
Yeah. I get that muted applause, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. This one at number 7. Again, 2 of us did not have it on their list, and one of us did. And one of us had it at number 3. That was me. At number 7, The Covenant. And I loved this movie. Did either
Filming
of you guys
in Spain
see
aside?
this?
Well, we know.
Oh yeah. Steve saw it. That's right. And it was like apparently,
its
filming location ruined the home theater experience.
Viva España. That's all I'm saying. Viva España.
Oh.
No, it is a good film. It's a fun film. It's a good home cinema. It's a home cinema experience. But I over here, I've only seen it via Prime. I haven't seen the disc, and so I had a truncated version of it. But as I said, I've got a unique perspective on it because it feels like it was shot in my back garden, and it never felt like Afghanistan to me ever. So that's the problem that I have, but I know that's just my personal opinion. Deej, I think you quite like it. Is that fair?
Yeah. For a while, it was his number 1.
Number 1. All year.
Yeah.
I mean, once I saw Oppenheimer in the theater, I was like, okay, that's going to be my number 1. But when I saw this, I mean, it just was like, that's it. I mean, just the cinematography, the way they shot the 4K, the imagery that you see in your theater, I thought it was a great, just off of that, I thought it was a great home theater experience. Okay. And I mean, I always, and I've said it all year long, but you go back to that shot that they had and the way they incorporated the sound with it as well. So you have Jake Gyllenhaal off camera to the right rear of you. But you see him to the front left because he's in the reflection in the vehicle, in the military vehicle that he's in. The guy he's talking to is standing next to the mirror. So his voice is coming from, appropriately, the front left channel. But Jake Gyllenhaal's voice is coming from the right rear channel, and you see him talking, but it's only because you're seeing him in the front of the room of the reflection. It's little tiny things like that. And then the rest of the movie, I mean, I thought it was, Spain aside, I thought it was a great, movie too. It's, it's really kind of two different movies in one. The first hour of it is the buildup, and then the second hour is, the action part of it. And then once we get to that, I did not lack for bass at all. It had every ingredient you would want in a home theater movie. Plus, it's a very, very good movie, I thought. I think if maybe they actually risked their lives and went to Afghanistan and shot the film there, Steve would have been on board. But apparently, it's like, I don't know if Steve knows yet or not, John, but all those space movies he likes.
I know Star Wars was filmed on a soundstage, Steve. I don't know if you knew that.
Are you talking about? That's not true. Don't
also kind of in your backyard, but...
Right.
Yeah, well, closer, to be fair. It's only Pinewood. But no, like I said, for those wondering, I grew up in Spain. I lived there for 10 years, south coast of Spain. The terrain is very, very distinctive. And I am convinced this was shot literally within half an hour of where I lived. And I recognize it, and I could not switch my brain off from that. And I've seen the movie twice, in fairness, and it is a good film. But again, my unique, you only ever take from art what you bring to it, Deej,
right?
As we're here, and and the problem with me is I could not switch off that familiarity.
Right.
It never felt real. The verisimilitude never reached anything.
In a movie that's supposed to have realism in it.
Let me look that up.
Yeah.
It's from Richard Donner. Richard Donner was saying about Superman the movie that it should have verisimilitude. It should be realistic.
Right.
And that's how it should feel. You should believe a man can fly. Right. And so with this, I never got that because it just felt like home. And so I could never quite get into the movie like a normal audience member could. So that's my own unique issues with it. Also, the chap who is the interpreter just looks like Tamira Morrison. And I couldn't shake that either. It's like his twin brother. And so, but it's a shame. It's a shame, but it's a very good film. And I get that. And I can see why people without that frame of reference would really like it. And also I think one of the few Guy Ritchie movies that you wouldn't know was a Guy Ritchie movie unless someone told you. His usual camera tricks and the normal way he mounts his movies is very different. So he's definitely changed his style for that film, which is interesting in and of itself. So no, it's great. It is good. It is good.
Do you plan on grabbing this one, John, when it's on sale?
I will. Yeah, I will. And I almost I came very close to watching it about 2 weeks ago on Prime. I think I actually even kicked it on and started it, and then I stopped it and said, I'm going to wait for the disc because I don't want to soil my experience with it.
Yeah.
Is it because it's only on Blu-ray over there, isn't it?
I think it's only on Blu-ray. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not even sure it's out here yet. If it is, it'll only be on Blu-ray as well. So whether there'll be a 4K version eventually, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw, and I almost wasn't going to put it on my list because I saw it a long time ago, but it dropped on Kaleidoscape and 4K Atmos a long time ago. And then I think it dropped in the fall here on disc. And
in Blu-ray.
On Blu-ray only. So, but if it hadn't dropped physically, I wouldn't have included it because I only want to include the stuff that actually is out for everybody.
Right.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I mean, up until July and we saw our Oppenheimer, what are you going to do? So and I told everybody in July when I came home from that, I'm like, I knew, that's my number one now. So, and I was just hoping it came out in time.
Jordan,
what's that, John?
I said spoilers.
Yes,
Yeah.
UK is not. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. So I've just checked on Amazon. Yeah, there is no physical release of The Covenant here either. So Amazon might have an exclusive on it, I suppose. But it is available to import from the US, but albeit only on Blu-ray. Wait for 4K. It's bound to come out.
All right. So that's The Covenant at number 7. All right. Now we get into our number 6. This one here, only one of us had it outside the top 10. The other two had it dead on, same score. John and Steve had this at their number 5.
Oh, no, it's not.
Sisu.
I was going to say, it's not what I thought it was.
No, not at number 5.
Yeah, Sisu.
No, you guys had it at number 5.
Well, I was thinking it was another film, though.
But I had it it came in it's our number 6, but you guys had it both scored at your 5. And because, where did I have it? I had it at, let me look at my list.
It was in your 10, wasn't it? It was
I had it at 15. It came in at 15.
Oh, okay.
That was my 15th, Sisu. And it actually was higher than that. And then I saw a couple, I was like, oh my God, I forgot what was the one? Oh, Fallout House of Usher. And I knew I wanted to get that in. That dropped it down a little bit. But yeah, so I had it at 15. It was up there for a while this year because I start my list at the beginning of the year and I just keep going. I added, where do I want it? And then I tweak it at the end like we all did. But go ahead, guys. It was your number 5. It came in at number 6. So...
Go on, John. Jump in.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, great fun, right? I mean, this movie was brutal and beautiful, right? I mean, I don't remember. This was not was this Atmos or was it?
No,
DTS?
it's 5.1.
Yeah, I say it was 5.1. Yeah, but still, you wouldn't know. I think it had a great audio track. This is guns and explosions and all that stuff you want to hear and surround sound and just like I said, just glorious brutality. What else can you say?
Oh yeah,
I think it says on the disc release over here. One of the reviews it says is glorious carnage.
Oh, is that what it says? So I was pretty close, wasn't I?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's what it said. I think it does. Without having it in front of me, I think that's what it says. But yeah, it's a great film. I mean, I was predisposed to love this from the trailer, which was out in February. And I had seen the trailer on the day I went to the Hi-Fi show and met John Thompson and Mark Craven from Home Cinema Choice. And I was saying to those guys, and there were a couple of other movie producers there, and I was saying to them, Sisu, have you guys seen the trailer? And they're like, what the hell is Sisu?
Yeah, you put us all onto this, I think.
Just watch it. Yeah, and oh my God, it was great. So I was ready for this. And when I finally got to see it, I loved every frame of it. I think I'm now up to about 7 viewings of it, I think, because I watched it twice in 1 week. And so I've seen it a number of times. I still would like to have had the Atmos track that Deeja's got. But you're right, John. It upmixes really well, and if there's any doubt of that's assuaged in about the first 5 minutes when you get the lovely slow shot of the planes coming over, and even in upmixed Neural X, they go right over the top of the screen, and that does sound very cool. But I'm sure it would be even better in Atmos. And I think the only slight complaint I think I had was the bass was a little inconsistent. Sometimes again, sorry guys, the 50 cal sometimes sounds really, really bassy and really punchy. And then the next scene is suddenly it's not quite as hefty. So that was just a slight disappointment, only very slightly. But I love the movie and I still love the track. And it does look, as you say, beautiful. The opening shots across the wasteland somehow make it look, almost 3-dimensional. Right. It's really, really good. So great disc, great movie. And if you haven't picked it up, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. John, anything else?
Nothing else.
No. Yes,
you did mention your credibility stretching plane ride towards the end each.
I haven't mentioned anything. It wasn't my turn.
I'm about to right now.
I was like, no need to now. So thank you very much. Jeez. And John, you see why I don't tell him what's on the list?
Right.
Everybody know already. He would have tweeted it out.
Oops. Yeah, well. Oh, go on then.
No, all I would like to say, though, is, and anybody new to the podcast this year, we do have some new people in here, and I'm sure when you first hear this, one of the things you're going to hear us harp on here is you don't need Atmos. You don't. And this is another movie that is an example of that. And we talk about it all the time. Any Christopher Nolan movie doesn't have object-based sound. You don't need that. Object-based doesn't add any extra frequencies. It doesn't add any extra depth to bass. It's like your standard True HD or DTS Master Audio. That either one of them both go to the same. They both go just as low as their object-based counterpart. And then, as we've talked about many times on this show, our processors are taking that, and for all intents and purposes, you guys are getting it. You're getting that. You had that overhead effect, and it's like if I shut off Atmos and I played the 5.1 or I upmixed the 5, you don't. It's about the experience. It's not about what's written. I mean, if you turn your TVs off and stare at the front of your receiver if that's all you want to do. But it's about the booms and the stuff that goes on in your room, and that's what we talk about here. And I love that you guys just mentioned that. You didn't have the Atmos. I did, but I don't think mine was any better or worse, or yours was any worse or whatever. That's not what it's about. It's about what goes on in your room. So just another example. And I had it's not my cup of tea. This is a horror action type of film that is, little out there. Apparently they didn't shoot it in Spain, so you can exit a plane that way. Had they tried to exit a plane that way over Spain, this probably would have fallen to like number 52.
16. It would have been number 16. Definitely.
It's like, that cloud in the background was in Spain when I was a kid. So yes, Sisu, our number 6. Here we go.
You really shouldn't have all those people out there, Deej, in the snow waiting to just cheer at the end of each thing. It's not fair. Poor things.
It's the 3 people. I got to get more people in the crowd. We only got like 2, and they're trying to make up for it, clapping their feet and hands at the same time.
Running around the house.
Yeah. All right, we're into our top 5, guys.
Top 5.
Top 5. From here on out, it's at least 2 of us have it on their list. And this, our number 5, 2 of us have it. 1 of us did not. Steve, you had it at number 4.
Ooh.
I had it at number 2. What do we got? Newly released Titanic in 4K. Number 5. So, Steve, I'll let you go first where you had it lower. John, actually, you didn't have it because you didn't buy it yet,
I
correct?
haven't picked it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Although you're not a big fan of the movie.
Right. I'm not a massive fan of the movie. But again, this is about the home theater aspect. So I imagine it would have been on my list, had I picked it up. This was pretty much at the end of the year anyways. And
yeah, literally came in December.
Yeah.
Like for all of us.
I haven't bought it yet. So
no, it is a textbook example of when cutting edge technology is used to remaster a movie that's already in fairly decent shape anyway. I've seen some stuff online. I've seen some stuff on Twitter. I haven't read it other than just the opening salvo with some people complaining about it. I don't know what they're complaining about because, as I said, I didn't read it, but they were complaining. To me, I can only, again, Deej, you said it. I'll echo it. I can only talk about the experience in my room. And in my room, it was flawless and absolutely exceptional. Now, I haven't seen any of the other Cameron movies, obviously The Abyss, True Lies, or Aliens. I haven't seen the 4K masters of those yet. They're out here in March. But I'm not watching the digital versions. But if they are a sign, if Titanic is a sign of things to come, then we are in for an absolute treat. The visuals on this are absolutely exceptional. Razor sharp details, stuff that there's no way the costume designers back in 1997 could have thought that one day we would be able to see this detail. Or having said that, maybe they did, because Cameron has famously approached the makers of the China, Royal Dalton, that made the China for the original Titanic, made the China for this film. So maybe he did think that maybe one day you'd be looking at it in ultra detail and you might notice the difference. I don't know. But boy, oh boy, does it look good. And it's stunning. And the audio is very, very good indeed. Perhaps not quite reference, because it's not enveloping for the entire movie. There are some amazing scenes in it, but it's not quite up to today's standards, but still very, very good indeed. But the video is what is just awesome. And in fact, I don't think I said this when I reviewed it. While I was watching it, someone who has no interest in this stuff whatsoever came wandering into the cinema room. And this person happens to know Titanic very well, and came in, and it was only a shot with two characters walking along the promenade, and was like, whoa, what the hell is that? And immediately sat down and was Shawshanked and watched the rest of the movie, because just like, oh my God, that looks incredible. And so for someone who's not shown any interest in this stuff ever before, other than, oh yes, Steve, all right, Steve, if you say so, Steve, it was, in this case, was blown away. So that, if that is a mark of quality, then so be it. So yeah, that's why it was where I put it. It was great. So very, very cool.
Yeah, and you had it at number 4. I had it at number 2 for all of those reasons. I was, on Kaleidoscape, I was lucky enough, I got this, the week before, and then all the other Camerons dropped the week after, right? So I've seen all of those already. This, if I was to rank all this with the others as far as movies go, this is way under. I mean, you got True Lies, Aliens, and The Abyss. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Titanic, it was good, but, whatever. This is over 3 hours long, correct? Or is it right around 3 hours, Titanic?
Yeah, right? 3:12, 3:14.
To get Shawshanked into a 3, when it dropped, the day it dropped, I was like, all right, let me see. Because I'd heard some hubbub about it and that it was pretty good or whatever. And I'm like, all right, let me see what it looks like. Wow. And I was blown away. And the fact that I had it at number 2, that it beat The Covenant, that like you guys said, I'd had that at number 1 all the way until November, right? And then this comes in and I was like, I just couldn't. I went back, I watched The Covenant, and I'm like, looking at it, and I'm like, this, like you said, Steve, everything about it. It's like how the remaster of this, and they get you right from jump when you're underwater, you're looking at the Titanic. And I will say that I think the audio in this is reference, because it's not it's not overly done like we would like in Transformers Rise of the Beasts, but it's appropriate. And when you're underwater, it feels like you're in the sub, right? And you're like, you get it. It's so enveloping throughout the entire movie that you're like, there's more to sound than just boom and bang and 50 cals. There's that environment and that it can provide for you. And I thought this nailed it across the board. And like you said, the picture quality, the imagery, it's like, I mean, the other 3 came out a week later. They're not making this list. They all have their I loved them all, but they have their flaws to them. But this does not. I think this is it's amazing. So that's why I had it at number 2.
Poor old Keith says he watched Titanic with his 8-year-old months before I knew there was a remaster coming. Well, the good news is, Keith, you do know now that it's out, and it's well worth seeing again. Go get it, give it a go. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
What was that? Sorry, I started. That was my fault. Steve Att's chat.
Steve Att. Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Saying you don't need Atmos doesn't mean you don't need /want height speakers. No. Yeah. You're 100% right. It's like, I recommend height speakers. But if you have height speakers, it means your system has Atmos processing or object-based processing. So that means you can up-convert anything that doesn't have an object-based mix in the source to basically give you that object-based feel. And that's the point that we're talking about. It's not just, you don't necessarily, that some people, depending on the room you're in, trying to force in an overhead where it might not work, might actually deter your system because you'll be sending sounds to a place that doesn't envelop you the correct way. So it's more, all your speakers, and we talk about this all the time too, it's so room dependent. That's the most important part of it. And I think some people try to force an Atmos system in when it really shouldn't be there. And they're like, but I got overheads. Yeah, but now you're routing some sound away from where a traditional 5.1 might be more effective for you. So, but the point we're making is just because what's this one?
It's from Omar. Yeah,
Omar. Yeah. Well, I'm like, DJ, did it have the same effect as Gravity with audio? Talking about Titanic.
Yeah, it's not as enveloping as Gravity. I mean, Gravity is a whole new version of Atmos, isn't it? In terms of how they do that. Just because of the way the sound moves.
Yes, but I will say that one of the things that I liked about Gravity is it's not it is environmental, especially that opening scene that if anybody that has the Atmos track on that, it's like, you go to that and how the sound moves around the room, and it doesn't have to be, like I said before, Rise of the Beasts. It's not boom, like, oh, wow, planes flying over. It's more subtle, and that's where Atmos comes from, atmospheric. It's supposed to just give you that atmosphere. So I would say it's closer to Gravity than it is to Rise of the Beasts, but yeah. So, all right. That was Titanic at number 5.
Dropping in Keith again. So he says he now has to watch Titanic in 4K for the 89th time. That's fine, Keith. That's all right. Go for 90. Go on. You want to.
There you go. Here is, ironically, we're at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of us made our top 10. It's the first one to enter it where all 3 of us have it on the list. Okay. We obviously had it at various places. I'll start with Steve first. Steve had it at number 8. I had it at number 5. And John had it at number 3.
Oh, okay. I know what it is.
Yeah, so who would like to say what it is?
Go on, John, because I'm only guessing.
John Wick 4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. Especially just because I was looking at my list and I know I had that at number 3.
Yeah, there you go. So
cheat.
Let's see. Steve, you had it at number 8. John, why don't you go for it? We'll go the other way. We'll go from John, you had it at number 3.
Yeah, well, once again, from the opening fist hitting the wood dummy, this thing is just an experience, right? This is 3. I don't remember exactly. It's 240 or it might be 3 hours long. This is a long movie. And, movie wise, I don't think it needed to be that long, but home theater wise, this thing, it looks like an anime. It's got that color, the visuals, the shots of Tokyo and, the use of color in this are unbelievable. Paris.
What about the overhead shot that was like a video game?
Yeah. Dragon's Breath.
That was insane. And, and of course, again, the audio in this, there is no shortage of atmospheric gunfire and bass going on in this movie. This is just it's a cinematic home theater experience. It's like I said, for me, it was one of the best of the year. And like I said, it gets you right from the opening 10 seconds, that this thing is just going to be a juggernaut for home theater, and it doesn't disappoint. I'm
embarrassed because I missed this from my list. It wasn't until I saw you guys had put it on, I suddenly remembered. And what's bad for me is had a I've got an app that I use to track the films that I've bought and that I've got, because obviously I store them in cardboard sleeves, but no one throw things at the screen. And so I look through that list, and the good thing is it separates. You can put it into months, what was bought in every month, and I went through it to make my list. I went through and I missed it, and the reason I missed it is it's a dark cover. So it kind of just blended in with all the others. Yeah. And as you guys know, I buy quite a few discs each month. And so I just
each week
over it. And
the opposite problem of
every minute.
Yeah.
Well,
I had to struggle to find 10 movies I bought. That's just a week for you.
Yeah, week one. Hey, I still maintain Jordan Carpenter is worse. Sorry, Jordan. I know he's in the chat. But still, and I missed it. And so when you put it in, I'm like, oh my God, how can I have missed that? So luckily that was a quick bit of rearranging. Otherwise it would have been at number 16 on my list.
Right.
So luckily I remembered and then changed it. So yeah, it's great. Fantastic film. Really, really good disc. You do get a lot for your money. It does feel a bit like, I think I said when I reviewed it, it's like having a massive chocolate cake. And you're like, oh, you can have too much of a good thing. And you get to the point where you're like, oh, I'm feeling a bit sick now. And after the 34th time that he climbs the stairs to then be knocked down to the bottom of it again, I think you're like, can we just get to the top of the stairs now, please?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Movie-wise, it was long. but
if you're having fun, does that matter? And we talked about that when because we all loved it, and you're like, it was a little long, but it's like, I mean, it's one we're going to talk about a little later that's really long too, but people that liked it were like, didn't seem it.
I think it's not so much the length. It does. I mean, you could just only shoot so many people so many times. Like to me, it's the repetitive. Like there was just one too many. There was just one too many 30-minute gun battles, I think, in John Wick. Whereas the other movie you're speaking about, it's 3 hours, but it's not a repetitive thing. You're not seeing it over and over and over again. Like you said, you can just only kill so many guys so many times in one scene. So I think that's where, to me, it was like Steve said with the chocolate. It's just a little too much chocolate cake, Whereas something else, this past week I watched 4-hour Return of the King, and but again, it's not the same thing over and over. Well, again, it's a lot of walking, so I guess it is a lot of the same thing. but you know what I'm saying.
But John, it's walking in Atmos.
Right.
To quote Kevin Smith in Clerks 2, even the trees walk in those movies.
Right. Yeah. There's only one return.
Yeah. Oh man. No, it's very cool. It is a great movie. You shouldn't really be churlish for getting more, but it does seem a lot. Has anyone actually worked out the body count in that film? I mean, I dread to think.
No,
it must be the highest.
I don't have that many fingers or toes.
Yeah. Again. They moved.
A lot of the characters don't either.
True.
It's got to be one of the highest body counts, surely. I mean, the entire movie.
Well, actually,
killed.
I think Star Wars is the most.
Oh, because
yeah. They blew up a planet.
Another one we're going to
They blew up a planet, then the Death Star.
Has a pretty high body count too, but
yeah.
So I had it at number 5. Any other year, this could be a number 1. I mean, all of these from here on out are pretty much could be a number 1 any other year. I struggled with
my top 3, honestly. Like any one of these could have been 1, 2, or 3 for me.
I agree.
As far as what I had on my top 3. So
actually, do I agree? No, there was only number 1. There was only one.
There was only one.
And it's not hard.
All right. So let's do so number 4, John Wick 4. How appropriate.
Well,
a little bit more applause as we get higher.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. So let's see what do we got before we move on to our top 3. We got some comments here. Paul's. So Sisu, 90 minutes, or John Wick, 170 minutes.
See,
I'm going John Wick all day long.
I don't know. It's Sisu.
I'd do them both. Damn it.
True.
Take the afternoon off. One after the other. Come on.
So 260 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you've got to see them both. You can't choose. for different reasons.
And then we have Jan in the chat saying Casper was a great movie. The DTS Laserdisc was one of the best sounding discs ever. Yes, absolutely.
Go back a couple months. I think we talked.
Yeah. I talked about it I watched it on Kaleidoscape, my wife and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God. And it was. I have the Laserdisc. I showed the Laserdisc when we did the show. I'm like, and I remember buying that movie going, I'm buying Casper. I mean, I didn't think it was great back then. I actually thought it was better now. I was expecting it to be really bad. But my wife and I had a blast with it, and I forget what it was. It was just HD with DTS Master Audio 5.1, I think. And it's a really, really good sounding disc if you want to pick that up on Blu-ray. It's a great home theater experience. So couldn't agree more, Jan. Jordan, technically Avengers Infinity War has the biggest body count with half the universe.
Hard to top that one.
There you go.
It's not, because they all came back. True. Doesn't count if they come back.
That is true.
Was the next movie, I suppose. But still.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess you're right. So all right, here we go. At number 3. Two of us.
Myself.
Two of us. This made 2 of our lists.
Number 3.
And then one of us did not have it.
Oh, so that's me.
Okay.
So
I think I know.
Man, you guys know. At number see, and that's what keeps it fun. Here we go. At number 3, John's number 2.
Oh.
And Steve's number 1. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, only at number 3. Boo.
Yeah. You had it in your list, DJ, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought you did.
Yes. It was in my list, but it didn't make the top 10.
Oh, I thought it was like 6 or 7 for you.
No, my list is right there. I had it at 14.
Oh, okay.
You guys might have seen it. It might have been at 11 at one point, but then as I tweaked and moved, and it dropped because I was like, I can't say that one's better than that one. So, but Evil Dead Rise at number 3.
Should not be a surprise to most listeners.
No. Actually, our number 1 is a surprise because John, you had Evil Dead Rise at 2. Obviously, Steve had it at 1. I had it. I give it a score of 11 because it fell to 14 on mine. But Steve, if you guys take it away. Top 3.
Can I? Yeah. All right. Then it should be number 1, obviously. But that's fine. I won't.
I don't think so.
I struggled with this quite a bit too, man. Steve. Yeah. This could have been number 1 for me easily. Yeah.
The reason it was on my number 1 is because not only is it the movie I think we've talked about most this year, even more than Oppenheimer, and it's the one that sparked the most conversation, spirited though it was, on multiple weeks, I seem to remember as well.
6 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I think we're still running on like 28 weeks now.
Yeah, I say we're still talking about it.
Still going. Yeah. And it spilled over to Takeover Tuesdays, and it spilled into all kinds of, and it spilled into the 24-hour podcast with with people asking about it then and Todd talking about it.
And I have Ralph on. Yeah. Ralph had it on his list. He goes, "Have you seen Evil Dead Rise?" And I was like,
"That was great." So it and it was also, may I say, it was an honourable mention in Home Cinema Choice as well for movie of the year or disc of the year. So anyway, it is so not only is it all that it sparked all this debate about how excellent the film is, and we all agreed that it was excellent.
Right. We're talking about the home theater experience, Steve.
Quick, mute Deej, John, mute Deej. That he can't disagree.
If I had that power, it would have been done 30 years ago.
Yeah, straight God, yeah. That's it, just smashing the microphone. Let me on. Yeah.
Thanks, John. Let me back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not only is it an awesome debate movie, as it were. Be careful how I use that phrase. It is an incredible home cinema experience. Good. He's drinking. We can say what we like. An incredible home cinema experience. From frame 1 to the very end, this sounded amazing. And some things happen in there. It's like a stuck record because we've talked about it before, but some things happen in this that, again, in my room, appreciate, it's only in my room. I can only call it how I see it, that I have not heard before or since in terms of 3D audio with the drone at the beginning that genuinely felt like I could reach out and grab it, like it was hovering in 3D space. The little flies buzzing around, the air conditioning going, the little rumble in the vents, the rain outside, all this kind of stuff is constantly going on. And we talked about envelopment with Titanic. For me, this film is constantly enveloping. There's always something going on. And then you get to the sequence in the lift where there is a possession. Spoiler alert, it is Evil Dead, which I think is just, all speakers firing, everything going at once. And it genuinely feels like all hell is breaking loose, if you'll forgive the pun. And so, it sounds amazing. And I was thoroughly impressed with how it looked. Again, and DJ, again, we've talked, the opening is three-dimensional with the kind of the movement along the stream. There are, it's not, it betrays its budget perhaps a little bit in terms of its video. It's not huge and stagey or anything like that. But what is there for this kind of movie is lovely, and the black levels are great. The HDR works really well in terms of the color saturation. The blood has never looked more horrible. The injuries look really icky. I loved, and I say that deliberately, I love this film as a movie and as a home theater experience. And I thought it was great. And so it should be number one, damn it. But I'm prepared to accept it at number 3, just because, well.
How gracious of you.
There you go. So, no, it's great. It's really, really good. John.
For those review bombers out there, it would have been.
Yeah. The IMDb peeps. Yeah. So, John, but let's, Deej, you're going to go in the middle? You're going to be filling in the sandwich?
I have nothing else to add to that. I felt the same way. Like I said, it was a toss-up between this could have been easily number 1 for me. My number 1, I just actually liked the film a little more, and I think that's what pushed it over the top for me. So,
and that's a great segue, because the reason it dropped for me is it's just like, as we've said, I talked about with Ralph, I'm like, it's just the movie itself just didn't resonate with me. My wife and I were both like, that was weird. Like, we didn't like it. We didn't like the movie, but we did both say throughout the movie, as you said with the drone scene right at the beginning, that we were like, that's awesome. Multiple times we were like, that is awesome. And it is. And that's why, for me to literally not like a movie and then to have it in my list, I'm like, that's a home theater experience. I get that. I do have a drone scene coming up, I'm thinking next week, that I found that I was like, holy crap, I think it might rival it. But it is. It's a great home theater experience. And if you like the Evil Dead series, from what I gather, then, you got to own this. Absolutely. I own it. I only own it once. Once. I didn't buy it again. I didn't buy it on disc too. But yes. So, I think it is a great number. It's great to be in the top 3. It's a great number 3. I think we'll talk about it when we get to the end. So we got to get to our number 1, and then we could talk more about how things felt. But so yes, so that's Evil Dead Rise at number 3. All right. Now, number 2. Number 2. 2 of us had it. 1 of us did not. Exact same scores as our number 3. John did not have this one. Steve had it at his number 2. And my number 1, Oppenheimer, Atmos. That's honestly, this was the one when it landed. I was like, okay, why did Oppenheimer get 2? And because they both have the same score. And I was like, and I started to look, and I'm like, some other, and I reshuffled, and it always just went. I don't reshuffle; it just always landed there. And then I'm like, okay, Super Mario. I'm like, is it because I scored it? And I'm like, no, wait, Super Mario Brothers. John scored it higher, and than I did. Or we scored it the same. So I was like, no rhyme or reason. But according to tied with Evil Dead Rise at 14, Oppenheimer, and Steve had it at 2. I had it at 1. I've been talking about, like John said earlier, this is just one of those movies that, I mean, this is a home theater experience. This is a movie, and this is why any of these movies in the entire top 10, if you're watching these on your television in your living room, which I know everybody listening and watching us, they're not. Right. But any of these movies, if people are just streaming these and watching them on a living room TV through living room speakers.
Or on an iPad.
Or, yeah, there you go. or their iPhone.
Even worse.
Yeah. You're not getting the experience. And all 10 of these movies that we've listed, our systems pull out the entire movie. We get to experience the entire movie. And that's, with Oppenheimer, we get that. The audio in this, which is not Atmos. It is, DTS, Master Audio 5.1, true Christopher Nolan. And there's beats throughout this movie for people that haven't seen it yet. There is bass and beats throughout this movie that you don't even know what they are. And it's not until maybe your second viewing or third viewing that you're like, oh my God, it just dawns on you what that is, because it comes later, and it's so well done. The tension that is built through this movie, through the sound, the visuals, amazing, absolutely amazing. The way he shot this 70 millimeter, you've seen it all. If you're watching and listening to us, you know the background of this movie. Absolute, must-own home theater experience at number 2. What do you got, Steve? You had it at your number 2, so this falls right in line for you.
Yeah. Well, quite. It's now I've only seen it once because, again, it is a long movie and it requires time that around this time of year I just didn't have. So I've only seen it once, but it is a tour de force. I mean, it's a home theater demo from start to finish. It is fantastic. And yeah, the bass is crazy. The way in which but what I like about it is that it's what we've talked about before in terms of its muscular bass, its controlled bass. It isn't, again, your Halloween ends just rattling off the scale and making everything rattle, which is uncomfortable and distracting. Whereas, so this is muscular bass. It's strong, it's deep, but it's controlled. And even when you only get a couple of seconds of it and it comes back, you still never get the sense that it's gone too far. So no, I think it's great, and it perfectly complements the story being told. It's a long movie, but it flies by, and it's really, really good. So yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, I agree. I mean, if I wasn't such a horror nut, then I think that again, I would have easily swapped these two around with Evil Dead Rise, but I'm a horror nut, so I can't. But it's still very, very good indeed. So it's an easy recommendation. The fact that you couldn't buy it for a couple of weeks after it was released in 4K speaks volumes. I mean, again, I think word got out that it was very, very good indeed. And I see Lion MQJ, Lion Madge, saying again that in the chat there that watched it for the first time on Christmas Day right after dinner. A bad idea, but a great movie, and the sound was awesome. I mean, no one is saying anything other than it's an awesome disc. I think I certainly haven't seen any negative reviews. But
Fred 215 says
the
overrated.
movie maybe perhaps rather than the home theater experience. I'm guessing.
Maybe.
I don't want to talk for Fred, but yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, the home theater experience is unrivaled in terms of its power. But there we go. Yeah. So
Keith fell asleep.
Keith says I fell asleep, but it looked and sounded great.
Shane, when he was on, we were talking about, and we've talked about it since, Shane Lee, that is. We were talking about it. We were joking privately about he didn't like it at all. He doesn't like this movie at all. And he was like,
when he was on the movie,
both. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about the experience.
Okay,
but the movie itself, he was on with the 24-hour podcast. He was just like, this boring. He felt the same. He felt like I think he fell asleep, and like Fred thought it was way overrated. Like it didn't resonate with him. Obviously I've talked ad nauseum about it since July. I'm like, this movie resonated with me huge. But yeah, it's like there are quite a few people. I wouldn't say a lot, but there are quite a few people that it didn't really do anything for them. So, but like you said, you got other people. It's like, yeah, I agree, DJ, a masterpiece from Lion Madge. So yeah, it's, to each his own, but it's like, but you see what's going on, and then the Oscar talk and everything like that. So, I mean, it definitely deserves to be up there. But I do understand that, some people are just like, no, didn't do it for me, and I mean, you got to respect that. So, Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah. So Jordan just says in the chat, Oppenheimer for me is one of the best 4K discs I own. And that's saying something given the size of my collection. I can vouch it's a big collection. So it is a very, very, again, I get you. The movie may not be for everybody. I'm not sure since The Dark Knight Rises or Returns, whether in fact every movie he does make is for everybody, if that makes sense. I think he is quite a singular filmmaker, and his movies can be cold and they can be difficult to get into if you're not in that frame of mind. I think that's quite deliberate.
I don't like most of them, to be honest with you.
I think it is. He definitely has a detachment to some of these movies that I get the issues with. I mean, I like Inception. I don't love it. I like Interstellar. I don't love it. There are some very moving scenes in that, but some of it is a bit cold again. Whereas in Tenet, I've only seen once, and I'm not sure I'm going to go back to that.
Loved it.
But I get it. I understand that why people don't always, vibe with this movie, that Oppenheimer, I mean. But as a home theater experience, I can't see how you can really complain about that, really.
Right.
But, just me.
Yeah. But I mean, most of your artists, people complain like, I'm tired of comic book movies. I'm tired of the cookie cutter franchises. I'm tired of this. But then like you got Oppenheimer, or you got something from Nolan isn't cookie cutter, right? Something from Tarantino, not cookie cutter. You got M. Night. These are artists, and they don't care what you think of their movie. Right? They just like, this is what I wanted to put out, and this is how I'm going to put it out. And this is what I love that. And it's like, you might not like all of their stuff, but I mean, they're putting out what they want to put out. And that's what you need. That's to me, that's art. Don't get me wrong. I love a good Marvel franchise movie. Or a Transformers movie or something, things that go boom in my room. It's a lot of fun, but this one has it all, and that's why I had it at number one. So, all right. Before we get to our number one, I got to imagine people in the chat and people listening like, what do we got at number one?
I know.
I had to go back and look at our list to think if
I know.
I wasn't sure if it was going to make it.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's go to some comments in the chat. Let's see what Paul have here. My favorite Nolan, and for a good while, my favorite movie is The Prestige. Yeah, but I didn't like Interstellar. I loved Interstellar, but that was more or less after, like, my son had experienced it through his school and had it explained to him and the physics and all that. So it really added more to it that makes you go, oh my God, there's a lot of thought there, and like how things like that happen. So really, I like that.
I think with Interstellar, I like that there are some, bearing in mind, as I said, I think his films are cold at times and hard to get into sometimes, but there are the Matthew McConaughey's viewing of the video after the 20-year return And that is incredibly moving. And that, I mean, that's a performance that should have been nominated. I don't think it was. I mean, that should have been, just for that bit alone, if nothing else. That is absolutely incredible stuff. And Casey Affleck then doing the thing about the son and what happened to him. I find that incredible. And there's some nice writing towards the beginning about the role of a parent, and you're here to be memories for your kids. And I mean, I think that's beautifully written. And not very Nolan-esque, to be honest. So I wonder whether he had some help with some of that. I'm not sure if it was written by him as well. But really, really, there are some good moments in Interstellar rather than the whole film for me. And so it's very common, a bit like Inception, actually, where I'll start watching it, get to a certain point, and then just kind of go off and do something else and then never come back to it. So I've seen it all the way through 2 or 3 times, but I've tried to watch it many more times. And then just something happens and off I go. And that's this lack of penetration, lack of kind of engagement with the movie, which Nolan does do. So, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So we got, let's see, Joseph in the chat says, just watched it this morning. Great movie. I didn't think it was that slow. I was still talking to Oppenheimer. Greg, the Awesome Ninja, says it's Prestige is fantastic. Top 10 all time for me. Keith talking about Oppenheimer. Biopic movies are hard when you already know and read the history. Yeah, but what I thought was interesting, like about Oppenheimer, is the way the story was woven in a way to tell an additional story. And, as we've talked about before, some people haven't seen it yet, so I don't want to get too far into it. I'd be happy to do a Takeover Tuesday with anybody that wants to talk spoilers on Oppenheimer. But yeah, so there's that. There's just all sorts of stuff.
Just don't suggest that you do that Takeover Tuesday with John Thompson with Oppenheimer Deej. Otherwise, you'll end up with a 48-hour podcast.
Oh, yeah. John and I have talked about that. Yeah.
He's got plenty to say about Oppenheimer. And I've seen it. Is he 17 times now? I think he's up to.
Yeah, he's seen it more than I have. That's for sure. And I've seen it. I've probably seen it. What was the last kind of like 4 or 5 times at home? And I saw it 3. Saw it 3 times in the theater. So 4 or 5 times at home since it's been out.
He's seen it with Christopher Nolan multiple times. Let alone.
Well, yeah.
Normal theaters.
If Nolan invited me, I wouldn't say no either. I just keep going.
Especially his own print. His own.
That one was really good. Yeah. Fred in the chat saying Interstellar, that soundtrack is so good. And it is. It's some amazing, that rocket launch, the bass, everything. Yeah. That's one that I would like to watch more, but it is one that I can't do it in pieces. I really need to sit down and watch the whole entire thing. I kind of feel that way about Oppenheimer too, in that you don't just start something like that and then just, all right, I'll pause it, go to bed, I'll come back to the rest of it tomorrow, because it's just so flowing. It's just, you just want to be part of the whole thing at once, and to come back later, and especially Interstellar is so there's so much involved that you're like, to sit down in the middle of that is like, what are you doing? Like, all right, now where was I? It's a hard one. So,
well, like I said, that just seems to happen to me. I start watching it. I either lose interest or something happens, and then off I go, and then I don't come back to it for months and months, and it just keeps happening.
Yeah. So, all right, that is Oppenheimer. Number two. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Number 2. All right, please stop. There we go. All right. Number 1. The only other movie there were 2 movies, John Wick 4, that all 3 of us had it in our top 10. This is the only other one that had it in our top 10 with a score of 8. Okay, so to give you an idea, Oppenheimer, score of 14. Evil Dead Rise, score of 14. John Wick 4, 16. Titanic, 17. That's your top 5 going down. This one dropped dramatically to number 8. I had it at 4. Steve had it at number 3. John had Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at number 1.
So comic book franchise movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking, well, I know what the number one is. So
yeah. So, but John's number one is our number one because we all had it that highly ranked. And God, I mean, we'll get to the movie, but that's what I love about our list. I'm like, who would have thought that was going to come up number one? None of us all year long. But that's where it's like, okay, how things fall and where we vote. And it's like, I mean, it deserves it. Absolutely deserves it. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's an amazing, amazing movie. I admittedly was a little disappointed when I saw it in the theater because I had forgotten that it was a to be continued. So that kind of ruined the experience of the movie for me. I know. I got yelled at. You forgot. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? I forgot. So I was like, oh my God, this isn't going to wrap up. So it kind of like, but at home, I've seen it a few times and it is absolutely amazing. So, John, you go first. It was your number one. Why'd you have this at number one? And it's our number one.
Well, again, as I was saying, I did struggle with this and Evil Dead Rise because I could have gone 1-2 either way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice knowing that even if I had switched the order, our list wouldn't have changed based on the scores that these things got. This still would have been number one.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, it's just now, to be fair, I put this slightly below the original movie in terms of home theater experience and film. But for 2023, yeah, I mean, this is, again, what can you say? It's a great disc. There's not much to complain about here. It is animated, and so that lends itself to just solid visuals. It's crisp, it's colorful. The style of the movie, there's so many different palettes that are used. Every character has their own personality and palette and color style, and
the universe.
That really vibes with the comics. Again, like Steve said, Evil Dead Rise has to be number one for me because I'm a horror guy. Well, I mean, I own a comic book store. I'm a comic guy, right? So,
right.
Like, this resonates with me because I've seen these, like, Gwen, that's the palette of her comic book. Like, this movie looks like I'm reading her comic book. And Spider-Man 2099, it looks like I'm reading a Spider-Man 29 comic from the 90s. It resonates with me that way. And then, it's gorgeous. I mean, you just can't fault the animation in the 4K, the crispness of it. Again, the audio, it's there, the soundtrack, the Atmos, everything. Again, what else can you say about it? I just thought it was great. So,
yeah.
Steve, you had it at number 3.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's fair that again, 1, 2, and 3 could easily be moved around. I said it when I reviewed it, and I still feel it now. There are, and I know it's dopey to say it, but I still think that there are shots in this, there are sequences in this that are just too good for us. How lucky are we that we get some of this stuff that just looks unreal, like literally unreal. It just doesn't. It's too crisp. It's too good. It's too colorful. It's 3-dimensional. It looks absolutely stunning. Excuse me. And I agree. Sorry, this is 2 full days in court and lots of talking. It just looks absolutely exceptional, and I love how every different universe has its own unique look and style, and they've gone with what they started in the first movie, and then thought, right, well, that worked, so now let's try all these different things. So you get the Renaissance Vulture with literally pencil drawing. You get let's say the beautiful watercolors in Gwen Stacy's kind of universe, and I love how they change as the tone of the scene changes, the colors behind her change as well, and I just think that's a lovely little touch. And I love that from the minute we first saw it in the cinema, even with the dodgy opening audio. And so it's incredible. I mean, it's a work of art in every way. And the more I see it, and I've seen it 3 times now, the more the pieces fit together. And and I'm not saying that they didn't fit, but it melds much easier the more I see it. And I still pick up dialogue that I've missed before. There is all kinds of things being said by characters in the background. There are funny little things, little bits being said that you've missed, not because there's an audio problem, just because there's so much of it. Yeah. No, it's great. It's fantastic, and it's a worthy number one. For one horrible moment, DJ, I thought Gran Turismo was going to be number one. I'd forgotten what was on my list, and I was thinking, hang about, we haven't mentioned that. But then, right. So I was a little bit like, surely not. It's a good film, but it shouldn't be number one. Whereas this is a worthy number one. Really, really cool, and actually a movie that I think from a lot of other shows, magazines, websites, has not featured in a lot of those lists, which I think is a shame. I'm glad, yay for us, because it's there for us. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's and I would say, like, when I hit sort, and this came up at number one, I was psyched. I was like, oh my God. Cause like John said, like we're comic guys, and it was like, for this to pop up at number one, it was like, and I had it at number 4, but like my top, like I have Oppenheimer, Titanic, Covenant, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And it's like any other year, I mean, Spider-Man wins, and kind of like what John said, where like, I think if this wasn't a sequel and we hadn't already seen artwork this great, we might have ranked it higher. But because it is a sequel, and the first one, it is similar to the first one. I think, John, you like the first one better. I actually like this one more. Yeah. I thought it was just more dynamic, the movie, the story, and the entire thing. I mean, the first one's great because that's the first time, and you're like, oh my God. But this one here is just, and to go back to what you were saying about like Gwen's universe, and I've seen this, I don't know how many times, over 5 since at home. And every time, to your point, Steve, every single time you're like, you either hear something or see something in scenes. I'm not saying in the movie. I'm like almost every scene. And one of the things I noticed, I don't know if we've talked about, is when you're in Gwen's universe, notice the walls. They're dripping with the color, with the pastel. They're running down the wall, sometimes so slowly that you have to be like, you have to have seen the movie a few times to notice that the colors are dripping. And also pay attention to the vibrancy in her world as she's arguing with her father, if you haven't seen it, whatever. But the vibrancy is changing on the feelings of the characters.
Yeah.
That is all that. And like you said, Steve, we don't deserve this. This is too good. These are things you can do when you're animating, but you bring so much more to it. And again, everybody listening and watching, you're in our universe, right? You're in home theater. You're taking advantage of everything. And the people watching this at home on an uncalibrated television, with regular speakers, they're missing everything we're talking about. And they're like, well, what's the big deal? But it's still a great movie too. Right. But then the audio in this too, I've seen a few people say like it's flat. It doesn't have this. I'm wrong. In my opinion, wrong, because no, it doesn't have the bass of Oppenheimer or Evil Dead Rise or John Wick 4 for that matter, right? But it doesn't have to. I think it has a nice, clean, consistent sound from beginning to end. There's times when the bass does go deep. I mean, my remote lit up a few times in this movie. But the audio around the room, the atmosphere, it's just so refined and so well done and enveloping that, yeah. And it's like, I love that it, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, number 1. It's like, I mean, I didn't see it coming, but I'm not going to argue with it. I love it. I love it. And I think a lot of people are forgetting about it because it is part 2 of
it came out pretty early movie in the year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was like Maverick. Remember when it came like in January, and then by December, everybody's forgetting about it.
Yeah. This one came out in March or
Yeah.
no,
Yes,
I
spring,
think theater spring or something like that. Then we got it in like July, and by then, and all the Oppenheimer talk and we've been talking Evil Dead Rise Oppenheimer, and it was, but
I thought it was earlier than that even, but maybe not.
It might have been. I forget. But I mean, I had. Again, any other year, this would probably be number one. But me having the Covenant, I was giving the nod to the Covenant because I thought it was different and more. I don't want to say original, but we'd already had Spider-Man across the into the Spider-Verse. So it was like I kind of gave that edge there, and that's But hey, we have spoken. It's the number one. So,
and we're an award-winning podcast, so
we are. Anything else on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
No, just roll on the next one in 2030 or whenever.
Yeah.
They're going to finish it.
Guys,
at least they won't look any older, though. Not like
that's true.
Things.
They sound it though.
Yeah.
What? Now that you know the list. Let me ask you, what's the surprise? Any surprises to you? Disappointments? I've seen the list since John sent his in 2 weeks ago, so I've known it.
Right.
But
I'm surprised that The Flash didn't feature. Bearing in mind, one of us said it was the home theater experience of the year.
yeah.
I seem to
And
remember.
I expected Barbie to be in the top 10.
Well,
So-
yeah.
I
Didn't you
think-
put that on?
Because
your
that's why I went back to look at the list, because I was like, is my number one not even going to make it? Because I thought Barbie was going to be on there.
no, Barbie ended up at 18 for me if I
wow.
look at my list.
Wow. Yeah. And
Yeah,
again, I
look at
haven't
that.
seen it, but from everything I've heard you guys and everybody else talk about it, I was surprised not to see it on the top 10.
As if by magic, Keith says in the chat, nobody liked The Flash. I didn't expect much, but it looked and sounded great with lots of Easter eggs to the old school DC movies. Well, yeah, we both liked it, didn't we? Both enjoyed it, but this is the quality of the stuff this year that's pushed it off our lists. I mean, I'm surprised at The Fall of the House of Usher. I mean, we all really liked that.
Yep.
And we had it.
The end.
And I think we all had it on our list, but
It was outside the top. I had it at number 8.
14. I think it was 14 for me.
And we had it.
I didn't put any streaming show above a 4K disc. I thought even my worst 4K disc was better than any streaming show. So for me, all the streamer shows ended up 11 through 15. That's just my opinion. But.
Here are the movies that didn't get spoken at all because none of these made our top 10, but somebody had them in there. We had Gran Turismo, Cocaine Bear, 65, Rebel Moon Part 1, and The Last of Us. All got a nomination in the top 15 by one of us, but it might have been more than one of us, but they all got 11s. So they all ended up at a 33 score. And then everything after that we just went over is all one of us had it in the top 10. So that's where we had Sleepy Hollow, The Exorcist, Ahsoka, Nightmare Before Christmas, The Mist, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Fall of the House of Usher, Black Adam, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, The Fugitive, and The Creator. And those all came just working their way down just to being out. As a matter of fact, The Creator ended up tied with our, 9 and 10, which was Super Mario Brothers and Mission Impossible. So,
I mean, I'm surprised that Cocaine Bear wasn't in there. I mean, that was one of John and I's sort of favorites of this year.
I only streamed. I only ever streamed it. I don't own it. So,
of course.
I mean, I love the movie though, but
for people asking, I think The Flash is a great example because, yes, I did say this could be home theater experience of the year. It was that good, right? I had said the same thing the year before and was so excited about a movie that I had Ralph on and we talked about it and we laughed and he's like, "Really, Deej?" And I was talking, that was Morbius. Because when you see it and you experience it, you're like, wow, it's amazing. But then when you put your list together and you look and you go, yeah, you're right, we don't have The Flash, but where do I drop that? Where do I put that in on my list that it's going to, and you're right, maybe I could add that in, but it's not beating any of my top 10s, I don't think, and it just,
it's tricky.
But it is a great home theater experience. And that gets me to a friend of mine that I knew through, he used to have a podcast. Only knew him from his podcast, and he lives in my area. And I met with him before I started doing home theater. And he said to me, he's like, "What are you going to talk about? What is there to talk about in home theater?" And here we are, 5 years later, over 4 years later. I got you two on the show, and we don't have enough. I mean, we're out, we couldn't fit everything in the top 10. It was that great, and you're right. The Flash is a great example. But there's so much good stuff. And Barbie is another one. I just don't think, I think Barbie just didn't resonate enough. I love Barbie. I love Barbie that Oppenheimer came out the same weekend. I think it's a fantastic, they're kind of one and the same, but what am I taking out of here to drop in Barbie out of my list?
It's for me, it
doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah, it's an exceptional film. But I didn't finish that and go, oh my God, what a home theater experience. Right. On the first viewing, I think I was more engaged with the story first time round. That doesn't mean it doesn't look and sound great. It's just not as great as, the others that are on the list. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, Enter the Dragon, the remaster of that, I was thinking very carefully, do I want to put that in? Thinking I should because it's amazing and I love the film. But then again, it's like, but I can't push out any of the others. The other one that you mentioned, John, was in my list, right? Sleepy Hollow. I mean, that was in my list for a while. Yeah. But again, it just got pushed out. I mean, that looks and sounds fantastic. I love the movie. But again, you're like, well, okay, but there's newer stuff coming in. So that get pushed to number 16. And then as I say, things like The Mist, which I just had blown me away. It was like, well, that needs to go in there somewhere. Very, very cool. And by the way, I mean, I haven't mentioned it on Twitter. I saw Prey. I've got the 4K disc of that arrived, and that was night and day over Disney Plus. Better both audio and video. But I saw it after I'd done my list. Otherwise, I would have put that in there as well, because the disc of that is fantastic. And I've seen that stream 10 times, if not more. I really like that film, and yet the disc is way better. So it's one of those things. So many good movies this year. So many good 4K discs.
And it's not enough.
Well, this is the thing. We've been spoiled for choice. So much good stuff this year.
But that's what makes it fun, because it is so hard to pick. And that's what I love about, it's not two of us. It's not one of us. It's the three of us, and our mixture of tastes, our mixture of how we go about buying these things. And it creates, I think, a fairly, diverse list for home theater. It doesn't mean that if you didn't make the list, don't buy it. It's just like, this is, that's 2023 for us.
Yeah, so. And Steve hits the nail on the head for me as well. There's a bias on newer versus older stuff. I mean, that's why for me The Exorcist got pushed out. That's why getting Enter the Dragon didn't feature Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, but Titanic made it because it's so well done. And it's like, granted, Titanic isn't Enter the Dragon or, Exorcist old, but it is still an older film.
It's 30 years old, though. So.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So Steve also says, I've added Mist to the front of the watch list. Steve, if you haven't seen it, prepare yourself. Okay? It does not have a Hollywood ending. That's all I'm saying. All right. I wish I had been prepared for that the first time I saw it. So just no more than that. But yeah. It has a Stephen King ending.
On this whole top 10 thing, let's wrap this part up with anything off the top of your head you're looking forward to for this year. What predictions this time next year? What do you think could possibly be in our top 10?
I was trying to think. I don't even know what's coming out this year.
That's why it's fun to throw.
I was trying to think of what discs are even coming out. Like what came out at the end of this year in the theater
Dune.
That I'm looking forward to, like Dune. But like we saw Wonka last Tuesday when we didn't have a podcast. Lydia and I went to go see Wonka. That's going to be a great disc. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it'll be great. Aquaman 2 should be a great disc.
Yes.
Wasn't
That'll
a
be
great movie,
a Nope.
but it
that'll
should
be
be
a
a great disc.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
John and I already talked about that. But yes, that's going to be a controversial one next year. How high up in the top 10 does that go?
But it's going to be like Flash, right? Because
Yes.
Flash was a great disc, but didn't make the list. So,
right.
We'll
yeah.
see.
I think Deadpool 3, like you said,
Deadpool
3 could. That's going to be a fun movie, like home theater wise.
And we should have it before the end
Mission
of the year.
Impossible, the Mission Impossible sequel. Does that get in
Furiosa?
there? Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Godzilla of X Kong.
Well,
I don't know about that. I'm not
minus
loving
Godzilla
I'm not loving
minus
the trailer
one
for that.
Godzilla minus one.
I've heard great things about that. I didn't love the trailer for Godzilla X Kong though. So we'll see.
I haven't seen minus one yet. But from everything I hear, we got it's going to be amazing at home.
Right.
That's probably my front runner for number one for 2024.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Oh,
yes,
that one should be. If it's anything like the other trilogy, then that should be awesome. I mean, that
now is Godzilla X Kong in the Monarch verse? Is it the same?
Yeah, it's legendary. Yeah, it's the same. Okay. Yeah, it's all within all that. Yes,
that looks too buddy cop to me. Like it looks too Lethal Weapon for me.
So what's wrong with that? Oh, not enough monsters.
But that scene with Kong and Godzilla like running side by side, like they're, I don't know, man. That I love those movies, but that puts me off a little bit.
Is it going to be a Christmas movie? Do we think it'll start with Jingle Bell Rock? It's the only way. And of course, we get the Joker.
Joker.
Which is supposedly a musical?
It is a musical.
They've backed off about that a bit.
Oh, have they?
Backed off. Yeah, they said there are musical numbers in it.
Oh, because it was
because they got Lady Gaga. That's why.
It was being touted as a full blown musical for a while.
It was, but I saw an interview with the director Todd
Phillips.
Who was saying there are musical numbers in it. But the clear suggestion being it's not a musical though. Okay. I mean, I wonder if it's going to be like Sucker Punch. It's going to be kind of, there will be musical interludes, but a story told around it as well. I don't know, but it was interesting that there was that slight.
Maybe they backed off on that.
Yeah, I've got a funny feeling Warner's after they're a little bit wary of musicals because of course Wonka, whilst I haven't seen it, I'm looking forward to seeing it, but that hasn't set the box office alight. The Color Purple
it's been number one every week, but there's no competition.
Low numbers.
Yeah, it's not doing great box office.
Yeah,
but,
so I think Warner's might have been like, look, let's give this a little bit of some tinkering with this. So we all said, but yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is what I'm looking forward to as well. I can't wait to see that. I love the original trilogy. Well, the remake trilogy.
The remake trilogy.
Yeah. I really like that. And I watched it recently with someone who just had his mind blown by it. And so I'm really looking forward to experiencing that with him and doing that. Oh, yeah, Keith. Yeah. So do you want to read that, Deej? Go on, you pop that one up.
Yeah, Keith in the chat saying, knock at the cabin and leave the world behind were a pleasant surprise for me with very good subtle ambience and visuals for home theater. Yeah, absolutely. Especially leave the world behind.
I think we all had that on our list. Right?
It dropped to 17 for me. I have it sitting here. Yeah, but it was on the list because it was just like, and then Steve Att says, great top 10 show. Everything can be argued about. That's the fun of it. So much to watch, so little time. Yeah, don't I know it? Yeah. Paul Hurt's got to have everything crossed for Kingdom of Planet of the Apes. Also, great suggestion from Steven here. Steven Att saying, maybe we need a mid-year top 10 too, to give the earlier releases some attention and see if they hold up. Jeff and I did that. Jeff from HD Report, we did that a couple of years ago because I used to do these before I had co-hosts. I used to do this. Jeff actually invited me to his and we hosted it here with Ralph. And we did that for a couple of years, and Jeff and I would do a mid-year one. But yeah, we could definitely do that in June.
I have to say maybe a mid-year top 5 even, just to do half a show or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind doing a whole show. It's kind of fun just to have a whole show just like this.
I mean, again, I don't know what my top 10 looks like in June if I haven't bought most of the movies yet.
Well, see, that's well, no, but just like now, it's just like now, you know. I mean, I think it would look it would work out the same way. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think it gives it some diversity, actually, John. I think it's quite good because it means that we're not all going to just go, oh, well, here is our 5 because there's only been 10 out. Whereas when you actually bring in the wild card, you bring in that diversity, that actually this other stuff, because all the stuff you put in about the streaming is all really good stuff, and it was on any home theater fans list. So actually, it's good. It forces us as a trio to look beyond just discs. Which, you know,
that's what I used to do with Ralph and Jeff. Ralph and Jeff would be coming at it from disc perspective, and I was the one dropping in the
I was going to say, because I stream everything. Like, I watch everything that comes out streaming. You know, I just don't buy discs. Like I said, I don't buy
I've been the one
new release discs right away. So it's got to really be special for me to buy a disc at, you know, $40 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So.
And none of you mentioned looking forward to Rebel Moon Part 2.
Nope.
Have you seen Rebel Moon Part 1?
I have.
It's on my list. It was on my list as a home theater experience. Wasn't a great film. I didn't love it.
I haven't finished it.
I didn't love it.
Okay.
But I thought home theater wise, I thought it was solid. Like,
yes.
I've heard a lot of people argue that it wasn't, but I don't agree. I thought it was excellent for the home theater.
Yeah, it just was occasionally it was a bit blurry. I thought some of the effects worked with, and I'm sure it may well be this was just a stylized.
I think that was intentional, though.
Yeah,
I've heard people. I've heard that mentioned, and I've heard. Of course, it was kind of like, oh, what movie did we see where the director was like, oh, Flash? You know, after all the special effects got criticized, the director says, well, that was on purpose. So, you know, it's easy to say that after the fact. But
I didn't hate it. But it didn't grab me like other Snyder movies have.
It was just repetitive.
And the fact that it's a part 1, I'm like, all right, I'll just probably, I said, I haven't finished it. So I'm like, I'll just probably just binge both of them together. I'll do this the week before the next one drops. That way
I will
get
watch number 2.
Because it is a good home theater experience.
Because I did watch the first one, but
I think it's funnily enough, Jordan just puts it in the chat. That's what I was about to say. Not only do you know there's a part 2 coming, so you only get half the story, but you know that there is a wildly different R-rated cuts coming down the pike as well. And I think Rebel Moon Part 1, as well as being derivative as all hell, is the cuts are absolutely evident. The fact that this has been edited for television, to not put too many words, too fine a point on it, is very, very obvious at times. I mean, you see guns. There are a couple of occasions where, a gun goes off and it cuts away and then the person's just on the floor. It's like, well, okay, all right. I was never bored when I saw it. I didn't hate it, but but Ed Skrein, I've still not forgiven him for Midway Deej. I'm sorry. I haven't forgiven him for that. But he, at least he doesn't smile as much in this, because the way he gurned at the camera in Midway drove me crazy.
God.
So I didn't.
Luckily, he wasn't in Spain.
Well, that really would have been bad. That would have been bad. So I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. Just very, very derivative.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that the R-rated version will at least change some of the way in which this all comes about. But I'll see the sequel. I'll see the second part. For sure. It's to be seen. But I get all the complaints are valid, I think, as well in my view. But there we go. Anyway.
So,
any more?
I've got the last thing. I mean, we did our top 10 home theater experiences, but I think I could speak for the 3 of us, and you guys can elaborate if you want. I mean, the number one experience by far is the chat. It's the community, not just the people watching us right now, but the community that has evolved around us and made this so much fun. And watching us today, and like you see in the chat numbers go up, I'm like, holy crap, we're getting into the high 30s here. And for us, that's a huge deal. When we first started going live, when I shocked you two.
Yeah.
It's like we'd have, like, I was shocked we got it.
Like, why is there a thing in the top that says we're live, DJ?
Yeah. Like, put your pants on, John. Sorry about that, buddy. Go back into the archives. You can find it. No, but yeah, I think the first time we were live, we had like 8 or 9. And then by the next week, we were up into, like, when we crossed a dozen, we were like, yay. But yeah, it's like the lively chat, all the, I mean, every single one of it is Sisu. I get emails about this from listeners all the time. Like, I just saw Sisu. It was awesome. G. Cornell emailed me, I think, a couple weeks ago, and he's like, the planes that went over, and you're like, yep, okay. But yeah, the community has been great. Another one from this year, I got the email right up here. It's from John Pfeiffer, and that was the incident when Mikey Schramm ran into John in where was it?
Dominican
the Bahia Principle. Yeah, in the Dominican. So 2 listeners running into each other because Mikey's wearing a Brightside Home Theater t-shirt. And it's like, and John thought it was me. And it wasn't. And it was like, but it's hearing stuff like that. And then I told you guys, but I'll say it here. It's like, you get stuff like this. And so this is Danny Speakers dropping this off for me for Christmas, this cutting board of which he burned that in there. So, here, let me see if I can.
I was trying to read the bottom, but it came.
Push play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came into focus. Yeah, it was kind of blurry.
Yeah, so it says, go push play. There you go. So, but yeah, and he also, let me get me. No, I don't want just me on here. Jeez. Ugh. Also these too, his little ornaments. He gave me 3 of them. He's like, you can either give them one to each of your kids, or you could give one to John and Steve. And I was like, I love you guys, but it cost me a lot of money to send that to Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna say, right.
We'll throw it in the Christmas card next year.
Yeah, that's a
good idea. That's a good idea. Maybe I will. So, but my kids would love them too. For their trees, because they each have trees now. So
I'm not asking you to choose, Deej.
No, but he did. I was like,
let's do the right thing and put it in the Christmas card.
He told me what to do, and I said to him, I go, you make it up. You made them. He goes, they're yours. You do it. I'm like, I love them all. I love everybody. Like, so, but yeah, it's all fun stuff like that. You know,
if it tells you anything, Steve, I still don't have a cup. So,
oh man.
Did you see? Yeah. You want to grab Keith's there, Steve?
Yeah.
Keith's comment.
So Keith says, I've been listening to Brightside for a while. Just have to ask, how on earth do you guys have the time to watch so many movies a week and still have jobs and family and money for all the gear? Well, there's 3 of us, so we watch a couple of movies each, and then we've got enough to get through.
It's 2 or 3 things a week, really.
Yeah. It's.
And we neglect our families, Keith. That's the main thing. They've sort of heard of us, occasionally bump into us in the hallway, and we just say hello, and that's that.
I think we all have great families that understand us and take part too. So it's like it's not just that they let us be. I mean, my wife does. She it was funny when you guys heard Dork when they gave us the award, and they're like talking about the 24-hour podcast, and Keith's like, that 24 hours. He goes, I don't think I could even do that. All right, how do you get he even mentioned, he's like, how do you get permission to do that? Like, how do I tell my wife? And and they listen. So Keith, this is how you do it. 27 years of marriage of you just telling her all about these movies.
Right.
Then when you go and say, I'm thinking of doing a podcast, she buys you the gear.
Right. You mean I don't have to listen to you anymore?
Exactly. You can talk to somebody else. Yeah. And is that not the basis of our community? It's like all the Takeover Tuesdays and everybody, like, finally somebody I could talk to, because our wives are all like, yeah, great. Yeah. 4 ohms, you say? Fantastic. So yeah, that's how you do it. You badger your. I know Keith. They're a little younger than us. So Keith and Davey.
I mean, when you get to 27 years, you'll be golden.
Yeah, I think it was 26 or 27 years we were married when I started podcasting. So we've been married over 30 now. So yeah. Once if you badger them for that long, 25 years plus, they'll let you do anything. So you got a ways to go, guys. But yeah, Takeover Tuesdays are wide open right now. I'll let everybody know. Anybody wants to come on? New people in the chat. Takeover Tuesdays, audio only. We just chat whatever you want to talk about. Who knows? Maybe if you're really good at it, I'll fire Steve and bring it on the new Takeover Tuesday. You could become a co-host.
Yeah,
no, never get rid of you, buddy.
Thing really hurt you. That's what it was. It's fine. Yeah. I'll get
it. So, all right. Is that it for everybody? Is that?
Yeah. I've got to get out of here, guys, because I've got a long day tomorrow. Well, later, as it turns out.
Later today.
Yeah.
So, all right. That will do it. Thank you, everybody, for listening, watching, subscribing. All my Patreon supporters, thank you very much. I will get back to you. We haven't had a Zoom chat in quite a while. Yes, and as Jordan said in the chat, good night, everybody. So thank you very much. We will be back next week live. I'm not sure if we'll have a Takeover Tuesday. I just got to schedule something. So, but we're around. Check us out. See you next week. Thank you, everybody. What are you going to do? Nope, not that button. Okay. Where did it go?
Play.
Oh, that's what it was.
What he said.
No, I know. All right, let's do that again. What are you going to do?
Go push play.
It's our first day back. What do you want from us, all right? Jeez.
Go push play.
What he said.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.